You've been told to chase harder, push further, control every detail. But what if the secret to real success isn't more force, but less? What if letting go, surrendering control, is the true power move? Today, we dive into a radical idea that challenges everything you believe about achievement. Get ready to unlock a force so quiet, so profound, it shifts your entire life, not by struggle but by surrender. Are you ready to stop fighting and start flowing? The journey begins now. Imagine this. You're gripping the steering wheel of your life with all your might, convinced that if you just hold tighter, steer harder, and plan more meticulously, you'll arrive exactly where you want. Every detail mapped out, every outcome predicted. This is the comfort zone where control lives. But here's the raw truth. Control is an illusion. A mirage that promises safety but delivers stress, anxiety, and disappointment. We live in a culture that worships control. From the moment we wake up, we're trained to master our schedules, dominate our environments, and micromanage our relationships. Success is often measured by how much we have it together. The stronger our grip on life's reins, the more powerful we believe ourselves to be. But the paradox? The tighter we clutch, the more life slips away. Think about the last time you tried to force something, whether it was a project, a relationship, or even just a daily habit. How often did that forcefulness backfire? How often did your attempts to control outcomes leave you exhausted, frustrated, and farther from where you wanted to be? This is the invisible trap of control. It feels like power, but it often robs you of your true strength. Control creates tension. When you insist on how things must go, you set yourself up for resistance, both internal and external. Life, by its very nature, is unpredictable. It's chaotic, fluid, and often out of our hands. Yet, we spend so much energy trying to nail down every variable, trying to eliminate risk, trying to erase uncertainty. And in doing so, we tighten a noose around our own growth. What if I told you that this endless striving for control is actually what keeps you stuck? That every moment spent clutching too tightly is a moment lost from living fully? That freedom doesn't come from domination, but from release? It's time to shatter the illusion and see control for what it truly is. At its core, control is fear in disguise. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of not being enough. It's the mind's desperate attempt to create order in chaos, to protect itself from disappointment. But the irony is brutal. Control often generates more fear, more anxiety, more suffering. Because when you try to control life, you fight against the natural flow of existence. Imagine life as a river. The current twists, turns, sometimes rushing, sometimes slow. Control is like trying to dam the river with your hands, unyielding, forceful, and ultimately futile. The water will find a way around, under, or over your grip. But if you loosen your hands, float with the current, and learn to navigate the flow, the journey becomes not just possible, but exhilarating. We mistake control for security, but real security is rooted in adaptability. The strongest trees aren't the ones that resist the storm. They're the ones that bend with the wind. You too are meant to bend, not break. Your power lies in your ability to respond with wisdom, not react with desperation. It's time to challenge the beliefs that have bound you. The belief that success equals control. The belief that losing grip means failure. The belief that vulnerability is weakness. These are stories, not facts. You get to rewrite the narrative. So how do we begin? It starts with awareness. Notice where in your life you're gripping too tightly. Is it your career, your relationships, your plans for the future? Where are you pushing so hard that the very thing you want is slipping through your fingers? Identify those places. Name them. Face them without judgment. Next comes the radical act of surrender, not giving up, but giving in. Giving in to the rhythm of life. Giving in to the reality that some things are beyond your control. This surrender is not passive resignation. It's an active, intelligent choice. It's saying, I will do my part, I will show up, but I will release the need to control the outcome. This is the power move. When you surrender control, you create space. Space for possibility. Space for creativity. Space for unexpected opportunities to appear. You stop exhausting yourself by pushing against the current and instead begin to move with it. And in that movement, something profound happens. Life begins to unfold naturally, often in ways you could never have engineered. Take a moment to think about the last time you experienced flow, when you were fully engaged, fully present, and everything just seemed to click. Flow isn't about control. It's about surrendering to the moment, trusting your instincts, and allowing things to happen. That same principle applies on a larger scale. When you loosen your grip on control, You tap into flow in your entire life. Now let's address a common misconception. Surrendering control doesn't mean you stop setting goals or taking action. Quite the opposite. It means you approach your goals with clarity, focus, and intention, without desperation or panic. It means you do your work because it matters, not because you fear failure. You act because you're inspired, not because you're afraid of missing out. Think of yourself as a skilled sailor. You set your destination, plot your course, but you don't try to command the winds or stop the waves. You adjust your sails, read the weather, and move fluidly with the ocean. That's intelligent participation. Your role is not to dominate nature, but to collaborate with it. This mindset shift brings freedom. It lifts the heavy burden of needing to control every detail. It invites peace amid uncertainty. And it cultivates resilience because when you're no longer tied to rigid outcomes, setbacks become temporary detours instead of devastating failures. You start seeing obstacles as opportunities for growth. You stop fearing change and instead embrace it as part of your evolution. You gain a deeper trust in yourself, in the process, in life itself. And here's the beautiful paradox. The more you let go, the more you receive. The more you surrender, the more aligned you become. The more you release the need to control, the more control you actually have, because you're no longer caught in a battle against reality, but working with it. Imagine waking up each day feeling lighter, less stressed, more empowered. Imagine approaching your challenges with calm confidence instead of frantic struggle. Imagine relationships that flow naturally instead of being fraught with tension. This is the life waiting for you beyond the illusion of control. But this isn't just philosophy. It's neuroscience. Research shows that the brain's stress response is activated when we try to control the uncontrollable. Chronic stress damages dopamine production, the very chemical that fuels motivation, joy, and drive. When you fight life's natural flow, you drain your internal resources. On the other hand, practices that cultivate acceptance and surrender reduce stress hormones, boost dopamine, and enhance mental clarity. Your brain literally works better when you stop trying to control everything. So the question becomes, what can you release today? What grip can you loosen? What belief can you challenge? Where can you choose flow over force? This is not a call to passivity. It's a call to presence, to intelligent action grounded in trust, not fear, to showing up fully, without attachment to the outcome. And as you begin this journey, remember, control is the setup, surrender is the breakthrough. You don't have to fix everything. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to be willing to let go, to open your hands, and to trust that life has your back. Because when you do, something miraculous happens. Doors open, paths appear, energy flows, and your deepest desires find their way to you, not because you forced them, but because you allowed them. In the next section, we will explore the incredible power of resistance, how it shows up, why it exists, and how surrendering to it can transform your life in ways you never imagined. Stay with this truth. Real power is not control, but surrender. Not force, but flow. And the moment you embrace this, your entire life shifts. Control. We've just peeled back its layers, exposing its grip as an illusion, a mirage that confines rather than frees. Now let's dive deeper. What lies beyond control is surrender, but not the kind of surrender you might imagine. Not defeat, not giving up, not passivity. True surrender is something far more powerful, far more alive, far more transformative. To truly understand surrender, you have to unlearn what society has told you about it. From childhood, surrender is framed as weakness. Don't give up, they say. Keep fighting. We equate surrender with failure. But what if surrender is the secret weapon, the foundation of real strength, resilience, and peace? True surrender is an act of courage. It is the boldest move you can make in a world that glorifies hustle, force, and relentless striving. It's about letting go, not of your dreams, your goals, or your desires, but of the tight grip on how and when those dreams must manifest. Picture surrender not as a white flag, but as an open hand. An open hand ready to receive, to adapt, to flow. It is a conscious choice to stop resisting what is and start aligning with what can be. To stop forcing the river and instead learn to navigate its currents. Surrender is the practice of presence, of being fully here, fully alive, even when the path ahead is uncertain. It's the space between effort and acceptance where magic happens, where tension dissolves and clarity arises, where resistance transforms into opportunity. This is the paradox that many never grasp. Surrender isn't about quitting the race. It's about running it with a different rhythm, one that honors the journey as much as the destination. Now think about your life. How often have you felt caught in a cycle of pushing and pulling, trying so hard to make things happen that you forget to notice what's already moving beneath the surface? How often have you mistaken struggle for progress, exhaustion for dedication? True surrender asks you to pause and question everything you thought you knew about strength. Because strength isn't just brute force. It's flexibility. It's wisdom. It's the ability to bend without breaking. It's the inner calm that steadies you when chaos reigns. It's the clarity that emerges when you stop fighting yourself. But surrender is not easy. It confronts your fears, fear of loss, fear of uncertainty, fear of being vulnerable. It demands you face your discomfort head-on and hold space for it without flinching. It requires patience when you want immediate results. It calls for trust when doubt screams loudest. This is why surrender is a practice, not a one-time event. It's a daily discipline of showing up and saying, I will act with intention, but I will not clutch so tightly that I suffocate my own growth. It's a dance between control and release, effort and ease, doing and being. To understand true surrender, you need to redefine what control means in your life. Control is often disguised as security, but it actually breeds anxiety. It tells your nervous system that the world is unsafe, that you must constantly defend yourself. Surrender flips that script. It tells your body and mind that it's okay to relax, to breathe, to trust. It rewires your brain's stress response, lowering cortisol, increasing dopamine, opening you to possibility. When you surrender, you step into flow. Flow isn't about being passive or disconnected. It's about moving with intention and trust. It's the place where your actions align with your values and your environment responds in kind. Flow is creativity without force, motivation without strain, joy without guilt. The path to surrender often begins with resistance. You feel stuck because your mind and ego fight against the unknown. You want to control outcomes because uncertainty feels like danger. But that resistance is not your enemy, it's your guide. Resistance shows you where you're holding on too tightly. It highlights the beliefs and stories that no longer serve you. It points to the walls you built to protect yourself, but that now confine you. To surrender, you must first face resistance, not with anger or frustration, but with curiosity and compassion. Ask yourself, what am I afraid of losing? What does control really give me? What might happen if I loosen my grip? Here's a truth that can shift everything. Control is never guaranteed. It's always conditional, always fragile. The more you cling, the more you suffer. But surrender invites freedom, and freedom invites power. Consider this. The most powerful leaders, creators, and visionaries don't control everything. They influence, inspire, and guide, but they leave room for others, for change, for unpredictability. They know that true strength is found in adaptability. So, how do you practice surrender in your daily life? Start small. Begin by noticing moments when you're trying to force outcomes. Maybe it's an argument where you insist on being right. Maybe it's a career goal where you obsess over the timeline. Maybe it's a personal dream where you can't let go of the how or the when. In these moments, pause. Take a deep breath. Remind yourself that your worth and your happiness are not tied to specific results. Say quietly, I can trust the process. I can be patient. I am enough regardless of what happens. This simple shift changes your nervous system. It calms the fight or flight response. It invites presence. And presence is the doorway to surrender. Another practice is to cultivate gratitude for what already is. When you focus on what you have, you loosen the grip of scarcity and fear. You begin to see life as abundant, full of potential, and filled with gifts, even in challenge. Gratitude and surrender go hand in hand because both ask you to accept reality, not resist it. They teach you to find peace in the present moment, no matter how imperfect. Surrender also requires releasing the stories you tell yourself about control. Stories like, I must do it all myself. If I don't control this, I'll fail. Or letting go means I don't care. These stories trap you in a false narrative. Challenge them. Write them down. Speak them out loud and watch them lose power. Replace them with new stories that affirm your strength in surrender. Stories like, I trust my ability to adapt. I am supported even when I can't see the whole path. And letting go creates space for what's truly meant for me. Remember, surrender is not about passivity. It's about presence. It's not giving up on your dreams. It's giving up your attachment to how and when they must appear. It's acting with clarity, confidence, and calm, no longer driven by desperation or fear, but by trust and purpose. And here's the beautiful secret. The moment you surrender is the moment you reclaim your power. Because surrender frees your energy from the exhausting battle of control and redirects it towards creation, connection, and growth. It's like unlocking a door you didn't even realize was closed. When you step through, you find a life that flows with less struggle, more joy, and deeper meaning. You become someone who doesn't just survive life's challenges, but thrives within them. As you embrace surrender, you'll notice shifts everywhere. Your relationships will deepen because you're no longer trying to control others. You're allowing them to be themselves, and that invites authenticity and trust. Your work will flourish because you're inspired by purpose, not driven by pressure. Your mind will find clarity because you're no longer tangled in the need to predict and plan every detail. Your heart will open because surrender creates space for love, creativity, and possibility. But surrender is not a destination, it's a journey. It's a lifelong practice of leaning into uncertainty with courage, of dancing with change with grace, and of showing up fully, moment by moment. It asks you to be gentle with yourself when you fall back into old patterns. To recognize that surrender doesn't mean perfection. Sometimes you'll hold on too tightly. Sometimes fear will cloud your vision. Sometimes you'll forget to breathe. And that's okay. What matters is that you return, again and again, to the truth of surrender. That you remember it's not weakness, but wisdom. Not defeat, but freedom. Not silence, but power. In the next part, we'll explore how surrender intersects with resistance, the invisible force that shows up when you're about to grow, create, or change. You'll learn how to move with resistance instead of against it, how to transform fear into fuel, and how surrender can become your greatest ally on the path to true fulfillment. So hold this truth close. Surrender isn't about giving up control. It's about stepping into your fullest power by releasing what no longer serves you. You don't have to master it overnight. You just have to start. And every step you take toward surrender is a step toward the life you were always meant to live. Resistance. It's one of those words that carries an almost invisible weight, a silent force that many of us battle daily, often without realizing it. It sneaks into your mind as hesitation, shows up in your body as tension, and lurks in your emotions as doubt. Resistance is not just an obstacle, it's a signal. It's the inner friction that tells you something important is at stake. You've just learned about the profound power of surrender, how letting go can free you from the exhausting illusion of control. But surrender isn't about giving up in the face of resistance. In fact, resistance is the gatekeeper to growth, the unmistakable sign that you're on the edge of transformation. The question isn't how to eliminate resistance, it's how to recognize it, understand it, and most importantly, how to work with it. Resistance is universal. It touches every dreamer, every creator, every person who dares to pursue a meaningful life. It doesn't discriminate based on age, status, or talent. Even the most successful and resilient individuals face resistance, sometimes louder and fiercer than anyone else. Resistance whispers things like, "You're not ready. This isn't the right time. You'll fail if you try. You don't deserve success." These whispers aren't just random negativity. They are echoes of deeper fears and limiting beliefs that have taken root over years, maybe decades. Resistance disguises itself as procrastination, distraction, self-doubt, perfectionism, and even self-sabotage. Have you ever found yourself cleaning the house, scrolling endlessly through your phone, or reorganizing your desk when you know you should be tackling your most important goal? That's resistance, parading as busy work. Have you ever doubted your worth or talent right before starting a new project or making a bold decision? That's resistance whispering fear. Resistance is sneaky because it often feels justified. It pretends to protect you from pain, failure, or rejection. But in truth, it's keeping you small, trapped inside a comfort zone disguised as safety. So how do you recognize resistance in your own life? Here are some clear signs. 1. Chronic procrastination. You delay important tasks repeatedly, even when you know they will move you closer to your goals. 2. Distraction and avoidance. You find yourself mindlessly scrolling, binge-watching, or doing anything that keeps you from facing discomfort. 3. Perfectionism. You wait for the perfect moment, the flawless plan, or ideal conditions that never arrive. 4. Self-doubt. You question your abilities and worthiness, sometimes to the point of paralysis. 5. Emotional turmoil. You feel anxious, overwhelmed, or drained before even starting a meaningful task. Recognizing these patterns is the first step toward breaking free. Awareness brings power, but awareness alone isn't enough. Resistance isn't the enemy to fight, it's an energy to be understood and navigated. Here's where the real transformation begins. Working with resistance requires a new mindset. Instead of pushing harder, try listening. Instead of fighting, try flowing. Instead of fleeing, try facing. Resistance wants to be heard because it protects something valuable: your vulnerability, your dreams, your growth. So don't silence it. Invite it to the table. Ask yourself, what is this resistance trying to protect me from? What story am I telling myself that keeps me stuck? Maybe you fear rejection, failure, or losing control. Maybe you believe you aren't capable or worthy. Whatever the story, name it. Bring it into the light. Once you've acknowledged resistance, the next step is to embrace it with compassion. Be kind to yourself. Understand that resistance is not a personal flaw or weakness. It's a natural part of the creative process, a sign you're pushing boundaries. When you respond to resistance with self-compassion instead of criticism, you change the energy in the room, from confrontation to cooperation. Here's a powerful practice to work with resistance. Dialoguing with resistance. Take a moment and write down what your resistance sounds like. Put into words the doubts, fears, and excuses that surface when you hesitate. Then write a response, not to argue, but to acknowledge and reassure. For example, resistance says, "You're going to fail if you try." You respond, "I hear you. Trying is scary, but staying stuck is scarier. I'm willing to move forward, even with fear." This simple dialogue builds a bridge between your fearful self and your courageous self, allowing both to coexist and communicate. Next, break down your goals into smaller, manageable steps. Resistance feeds on overwhelm and the perception that the mountain is too high to climb. When you shrink the scale, you reduce resistance's grip. Don't aim to launch a business tomorrow. Aim to research one idea today. Don't plan to write a book. Write one paragraph. Celebrate these micro wins, because each one trains your brain to associate effort with reward, releasing dopamine and fueling motivation. Remember, progress, not perfection, is the antidote to resistance. Another essential tool is presence. When resistance surfaces, don't react impulsively or push through blindly. Instead, pause. Breathe. Ground yourself in the present moment. Observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment. This practice, rooted in mindfulness, creates a space where resistance loses its power and your inner clarity rises. Resistance thrives in chaos and distraction. Presence diffuses it. Also, consider the importance of your environment. Who and what you surround yourself with can either amplify resistance or dissolve it. Seek communities, mentors, and friends who encourage you, challenge you kindly, and hold you accountable without judgment. Create physical spaces that inspire focus and creativity, free from clutter and distraction. Environment shapes energy. Energy fuels action. Lastly, be patient. Resistance is rarely conquered overnight. It's a persistent companion on the path of growth. But with every step you take, every moment you choose presence over panic, compassion over criticism, flow over fight, you weaken resistance's hold. You don't have to eliminate resistance to move forward. You just have to refuse to be stopped by it. Let me tell you a story about Maya, a woman who dreamed of starting her own company, but was paralyzed by fear of failure and judgment. She noticed that whenever she sat down to work on her business plan, she'd clean her apartment, check social media, or find any excuse to avoid the task. Instead of beating herself up, she started journaling her resistance. She wrote down the fears and doubts, then responded with affirmations of courage and self-belief. She broke her business plan into tiny sections, celebrating each completed part. She practiced mindfulness daily, grounding herself whenever resistance flared. Gradually, Maya found that the resistance that once stopped her became a signal to slow down, breathe, and reconnect with her purpose. Today, she runs a thriving business, not because she was fearless, but because she learned to dance with her resistance. Your resistance is not a wall, it's a gate. Behind it lies your growth, your evolution, your true potential. When you recognize and work with resistance, you turn a formidable opponent into your greatest ally. In the next part, we'll explore the power of trust, how to cultivate faith in the unseen, align with your deeper wisdom, and open yourself to the flow of life's unfolding. Trust doesn't mean blind hope. It means confident presence and intelligent surrender. Together, these tools will unlock a life of freedom, creativity, and profound fulfillment. So take this moment to reflect. Where is resistance showing up most in your life? How can you listen rather than fight? What small step can you take today to move with, not against, your resistance? The path forward isn't about control or force. It's about courage, compassion, and connection with yourself and with the flow of life. This is the journey of transformation. This is your invitation to reclaim your power, not in spite of resistance, but through it. Expectations and attachments, two invisible chains that silently weigh down the human spirit. They masquerade as hope and desire, but too often they become prisons, trapping us in a relentless cycle of disappointment, frustration, and suffering. To live fully, to live freely, to embrace the flow of life, we must learn the art of letting go of expectations and releasing attachment. If you've been fighting resistance, battling inner doubt, struggling to move forward despite fear, you're already on the path. Now it's time to clear the way by loosening your grip on the outcomes you cling to so tightly. Because expectations aren't just thoughts, they're demands. They're rigid blueprints for how life should be. And attachments are the emotional investments we place on those blueprints, believing that our happiness, success, or worthiness depends on their exact fulfillment. This mindset is a powerful source of suffering. You feel it every time something doesn't go as planned. You feel it when relationships disappoint, careers stall, or dreams shift unexpectedly. The pain isn't just from the event itself, it's from the gap between your expectations and reality. You expect smooth sailing, and you're met with storms. You expect control, and you're faced with chaos. You expect certainty, and you're thrown into the unknown. But here's the hard truth. Life will never perfectly match your expectations. No matter how carefully you plan or how fiercely you hold on, reality is fluid, unpredictable, and often messy. When you resist this fact, you invite suffering. When you insist on your way, you build walls between yourself and what is. So, what does it mean to truly let go of expectations? It doesn't mean you stop caring or give up your dreams. It means you release the need for things to happen a certain way. It means you stop tying your self-worth, peace, and happiness to external outcomes. Imagine your life like a river flowing toward the ocean. Expectations are the dams you build to control the water's path. Attachments are the weighty rocks you throw in, hoping to anchor the river where you want it. But the river resists these constraints. It finds new channels, carves through rocks, and keeps moving forward. If you learn to flow with the river instead of trying to dam it, you experience freedom. You stop exhausting yourself against forces beyond your control. You begin to trust that life's current will carry you where you need to be. Letting go of expectations is a radical act of trust and courage. It requires you to face the uncomfortable reality that you can't control everything. That sometimes the best thing you can do is open your hands, release your grip, and say, I am ready to receive whatever comes. Why is this so hard? Because we are wired for certainty. Our minds crave predictability. We want to feel safe. We want to know exactly how our story will unfold. But attachment to certainty is a false security. It creates anxiety because it sets up impossible conditions for happiness. Instead of peace, you get tension. Instead of joy, you get frustration. Instead of connection, you get isolation. Attachment breeds fear because you believe that losing what you expect means losing yourself. But the truth is, you are not your circumstances. Your worth isn't determined by outcomes. Your identity is not shaped by external events. When you internalize this truth, the grip of attachment loosens. You become resilient, grounded, and deeply present. You don't live in fear of losing what you love. You love freely, fully, without strings. So how do you begin to let go? Here are transformative practices to release expectations and attachments. 1. Identify your expectations. Start by becoming aware. What are you expecting right now, in your career, relationships, health, or personal growth? Write them down. What do you believe must happen for you to feel happy, successful, or worthy? This act of naming is powerful. It brings unconscious demands into conscious view. 2. Question your expectations. Now ask, are these expectations realistic? Are they serving my growth or limiting it? Am I attached to a specific outcome, or can I remain open to possibilities? What is the cost of holding on so tightly? This process helps you see expectations not as truths, but as beliefs you can choose to keep or release. 3. Practice radical acceptance. Acceptance doesn't mean resignation. It means acknowledging reality as it is, without judgment or resistance. When life doesn't meet your expectations, instead of fighting or denying it, say, this is what is. Allow yourself to feel the discomfort without adding layers of story or blame. Acceptance creates inner space, a calm center from which to act wisely. 4. Cultivate detachment. Detachment isn't indifference. It's the ability to engage fully with life while holding outcomes lightly. Visualize yourself as a gardener. You plant seeds, water them, and nurture the soil. But you don't force the flowers to bloom on your schedule. You trust the natural process. Detachment frees you from emotional roller coasters tied to results. It brings steady peace. 5. Shift your focus to process, not outcome. Instead of obsessing over what should happen, immerse yourself in the present actions. Celebrate effort, learning, and growth. Focus on what you can control, your choices, your attitude, your integrity. This mindset transforms anxiety into empowerment. 6. Use mindfulness to anchor yourself. When expectation-driven thoughts arise, observe them without judgment. Notice how they feel in your body. Breathe into the tension. Return your attention to the present moment. Mindfulness trains your brain to respond rather than react. It softens the grip of attachment. 7. Embrace uncertainty as opportunity. Uncertainty is often seen as a threat, but it's also the birthplace of possibility. When you let go of rigid expectations, you open yourself to new paths, new connections, new growth. Uncertainty invites creativity, resilience, and wonder. 8. Practice gratitude for what is. Gratitude grounds you in the present. It shifts your perspective from scarcity to abundance. When you appreciate what you have, expectations lose their power to cause suffering. Gratitude anchors you in joy, regardless of circumstances. Letting go of expectations is not a one-time event. It's a daily practice. Every day, life will challenge your attachments. You'll feel the pull to control outcomes, to fix what isn't perfect. And every day, you have the choice to respond differently, to soften, to trust, to surrender. Letting go is also a gateway to true freedom. Freedom from anxiety about the future. Freedom from disappointment when plans change. Freedom from the exhausting need to prove yourself. It's in this freedom that you find peace. A peace that isn't dependent on the world outside, but comes from deep within. The freedom to live authentically, fully, and boldly. Because when you release your grip on expectations, you make space for life's flow. You open to the unknown with curiosity rather than fear. And in that openness, magic happens. Doors you never imagined swing wide. Opportunities arrive unexpectedly. Your heart finds rest in the present moment. But this isn't about passive waiting. It's about active presence. Showing up each day with intention, passion, and openness. Taking inspired action without desperation. Trusting that life's rhythm is unfolding exactly as it should. Here's the truth. The moment you stop demanding, life begins to deliver. Not because the universe owes you, but because you've aligned with its flow. You've stepped out of resistance and into grace. You've chosen to trust the process rather than force the outcome. And that makes all the difference. As you continue on this journey, prepare to explore the power of trust. How to deepen your faith in yourself, the process, and the unseen forces guiding you. How to build confidence not on guarantees, but on presence and alignment. How to let trust be your compass through uncertainty and change. Letting go of expectations is the foundation. Trust is the path forward. Together, they lead to a life of clarity, peace, and profound fulfillment. Take this moment to reflect. What expectations are you ready to release today? Where have attachments kept you stuck, and what freedom awaits if you loosen your hold? The journey to true surrender continues. And it starts with the courage to let go. Relationships, they are the heartbeat of our lives, the spaces where our deepest joys and our greatest challenges unfold. But too often, they become battlegrounds for control, resistance, and unspoken tension. We come into connection carrying our expectations, our fears, our attachments, and sometimes, without realizing it, we suffocate the very bonds we long to nurture. This is where surrender in relationships steps in. Not surrender as weakness or resignation, but as a powerful act of courage, clarity, and presence. It's a practice that requires us to balance two seemingly opposing needs, the need for connection and the need for personal boundaries. Why is this balance so critical? Because surrender without boundaries risks losing ourselves. We become people pleasers, shrinking to fit the desires of others, hiding our truths to avoid conflict. On the other hand, boundaries without surrender can become walls, rigid, impenetrable, and isolating. True surrender in relationships is a dance, a dynamic interplay of openness and protection, vulnerability and strength. It begins with understanding that surrender isn't about giving up control over others. It's about giving up control over what you cannot change, starting with the other person's thoughts, feelings, and actions. You cannot mold someone else's heart or force their growth. You can only choose how you show up. Many of us fall into the trap of trying to control our relationships to feel safe. We expect others to act a certain way, love us on our terms, meet our unspoken needs. When they don't, frustration brews, resentment festers, and connection breaks down. Surrender asks you to step back from that control. It asks you to say, I release the need to micromanage this relationship. I trust that if this connection is meant to grow, it will, with or without my control. This is not a call for passivity. Far from it. Surrender means engaging intelligently and intentionally. It means setting clear personal boundaries, lines that define where you end and another begins, what you will accept and what you will not. Boundaries are acts of self-respect. They create safe spaces where authentic connection can flourish. Imagine a tree. Its roots run deep, anchoring it firmly to the earth. Its branches stretch open wide, receptive to sunlight and air. Boundaries are the roots, grounding, stable, unmovable. Surrender is the branches, flexible, open, embracing life's breeze. Without roots, the tree falls. Without branches, it cannot reach upward. In relationships, when you set boundaries, you protect your emotional well-being. You tell others, this is who I am. This is how I wish to be treated. When you surrender, you say, I am open to receiving love and connection, but I will not lose myself trying to hold on. This creates a powerful foundation for deeper intimacy. Intimacy born not from clinging or control, but from genuine respect and freedom. One of the greatest challenges in surrendering within relationships is facing the fear of rejection or abandonment. What if I let go and they leave? What if my boundaries push them away? What if my openness makes me vulnerable to hurt? These fears are real and valid. But here's the truth. Clinging or controlling relationships out of fear only deepens disconnection. It keeps you trapped in cycles of anxiety and mistrust. Surrender calls you to face those fears with bravery. To recognize that true connection doesn't require losing yourself. That people who truly belong in your life will respect your boundaries. That vulnerability is the bridge to authentic love, not a weakness but a profound strength. Personal stories illustrate this beautifully. Consider Maya, who spent years trying to control her friendships, constantly checking in, managing conversations, and sacrificing her needs to avoid conflict. She was exhausted and unfulfilled. When she learned to surrender control and establish clear boundaries, saying no when needed, expressing her feelings honestly, allowing space for others to be themselves, her relationships transformed. Some connections deepened, others naturally faded. But in every case, Maya found herself more at peace, more authentic, and more loved, not despite her boundaries but because of them. Surrender in relationships also means releasing the illusion of fixing others. We often believe that love means changing the people we care about, helping them become who we want them to be. But love that seeks to control is not love. True love is acceptance. It means embracing people as they are, flaws, quirks, and all, without the constant need to reshape or repair. This surrender is freeing for both parties. It allows growth to happen naturally, without pressure or judgment. It creates room for compassion and understanding. It dissolves conflict born from unrealistic expectations. Personal boundaries, then, become not walls of separation but boundaries of respect and care. They protect your energy and integrity while inviting others to show up authentically. Setting these boundaries takes courage because it means risking discomfort and potential rejection. But it also means honoring your truth, and in that honor lies your power. Surrender is not an abdication of responsibility. It's a conscious choice to participate in relationships with presence, clarity, and grace. It's about knowing when to hold on and when to let go, when to speak up and when to listen, when to nurture and when to protect. This balance creates a fertile ground where love, trust, and connection can thrive. It's a practice, one that requires patience, self-awareness, and ongoing commitment. Now, how do you begin cultivating this surrender and boundary setting in your own relationships? Start by getting clear on your values and needs. What do you absolutely need to feel safe and respected? What behaviors or dynamics are non-negotiable? Next, communicate those boundaries clearly and calmly. You don't need to justify or apologize for them. Boundaries are about your well-being, not controlling others. Practice saying no when something doesn't align with your truth. Notice how it feels to honor yourself in this way. Also, observe where you tend to hold on too tightly, to outcomes, to how others should behave, to the fear of loss. Begin to loosen your grip there. Surrender those parts that create tension and resistance. Finally, cultivate compassion for yourself and for others. Recognize that everyone is on their own journey, with their own fears and wounds. Surrender in relationships doesn't mean you accept abuse or tolerate disrespect. It means responding with wisdom. Sometimes that means walking away, but always from a place of strength, not fear. As you walk this path, you will discover that surrender and boundaries are not enemies but allies. Together, they free you to experience connection that nourishes your soul instead of draining it. You'll become someone who can love deeply without losing yourself. Someone who can be present without being overwhelmed. Someone who trusts life's unfolding without grasping. This is the true power of surrender in relationships. It brings peace to your heart and clarity to your mind. It turns resistance into flow. It transforms conflict into understanding. And it opens the door to authentic intimacy. As you embrace surrender and set healthy boundaries, prepare to explore how trust deepens this process. How trust, not just in others but in yourself and life, becomes the foundation for lasting peace and connection. Because surrender without trust is empty. Trust without surrender is fragile. Together, they build resilience and freedom. So reflect. Where in your relationships are you holding too tightly? Where do you need to set boundaries to protect your heart? What fears might you surrender to open space for love? The journey continues. And the next step is to cultivate trust, the quiet force that anchors surrender and personal boundaries in a life of freedom and fulfillment. Living in alignment, it's a phrase you've probably heard, but what does it truly mean to live in alignment? It's more than just a catchy slogan or a fleeting trend. It's a radical way of being that transforms your entire life from the inside out. To live in alignment means your inner world, your values, your beliefs, your emotions, matches your outer actions and environment. It's the harmony between who you are at your core and how you show up in the world. When alignment is present, life flows with greater ease, purpose, and clarity. This is not a passive state. It's a deeply active, intentional practice of presence and trust. Presence is your unwavering attention to the here and now, the full immersion in your current moment without distraction or judgment. Trust is the confidence that the universe, life, and you yourself are moving toward what is best, even when the path is unclear. Together, presence and trust create the foundation for living authentically and powerfully. After learning to surrender in relationships and setting personal boundaries, the next crucial step is to root yourself in presence and trust. Because without them, surrender can feel like uncertainty, and boundaries can become isolation. Presence means you stop living in the future or the past. You stop reacting to what might happen or what should have been. Instead, you fully inhabit your experience, your thoughts, feelings, and surroundings in this very moment. Why is presence so powerful? Because the present moment is where life actually unfolds. It's where your power resides. You cannot change the past, nor can you control the future. The only place you can act, create, and influence is right here, right now. But so many of us miss this truth. Our minds are consumed by worries about what's next, regrets about what went wrong, or fantasies about how things could be better. This disconnect pulls us away from our own lives. Presence is the anchor that brings you back. It grounds you in reality, giving you the clarity to see what's truly important, to make conscious choices instead of automatic reactions. And presence is not merely about noticing what's around you. It's about tuning in deeply to your inner voice, your intuition, your genuine desires. It's about becoming aware of the subtle whispers that guide your decisions, those feelings of peace or tension that reveal whether you're aligned or off track. When you cultivate presence, you're no longer swept away by external noise or internal chaos. You're steady. You're clear. You're able to respond to life's challenges from a place of calm instead of panic. Now, presence alone, while powerful, is not enough. It must be accompanied by trust. Trust is the belief, sometimes quiet, sometimes fierce, that you are exactly where you need to be. That the experiences you face, even the difficult ones, are unfolding in service of your growth and highest good. Trust means letting go of the illusion of control. It means accepting uncertainty not as a threat, but as an invitation. The willingness to step into the unknown with courage, knowing you have the strength and wisdom to handle whatever comes. When you live with trust, fear loses its grip. You stop clinging desperately to outcomes, timelines, and guarantees. You release the need to force life into a rigid mold and instead flow with its natural rhythm. This doesn't mean complacency or passivity. It means active participation, doing your part while surrendering attachment to results. Presence keeps you engaged moment to moment. Trust keeps you anchored in the bigger picture. Together, They create a powerful synergy that allows you to navigate life's twists and turns with grace and resilience. Consider this. Have you ever noticed how some people seem unshakable in the face of uncertainty? They don't have all the answers, but they move forward anyway. They trust themselves in the process. That is the essence of living in alignment. But how do you cultivate presence and trust in a world that constantly pulls you away? First, start with breath. The breath is your immediate link to the present moment. When anxiety rises or your mind races, slow down your breath. Feel the air entering and leaving your body. Notice the rise and fall of your chest. This simple practice grounds you instantly and reconnects you to your body, your true home. Second, practice mindful awareness throughout your day. Pause before reacting. Observe your thoughts without judgment. Ask yourself, is this thought true? Is it helpful? This distance from your mind's chatter creates space for clarity. Third, embrace uncertainty. Instead of resisting what you don't know, invite curiosity. Ask, what can I learn here? What is this moment teaching me? Fourth, develop self-compassion. Trust begins with trusting yourself. When you stumble or make mistakes, as everyone does, respond with kindness. Recognize that growth is a process, not perfection. Finally, connect regularly with your values and purpose. Presence and trust are rooted in knowing what truly matters to you. When your actions align with your deepest principles, you create a life of integrity and meaning. You become immune to the distractions and pressures that pull you off course. Living in alignment requires courage. It asks you to face your fears, your doubts, your vulnerabilities. But it also offers profound rewards. A sense of peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. A clarity that guides your decisions effortlessly. An inner strength that carries you through challenges. Deeper, more authentic connections with others. A joy that comes from living your truth fully. This is the power you cultivate through presence and trust. As you step into this way of living, you become a beacon of calm and confidence. You inspire others to seek their own alignment. You no longer chase fleeting highs or avoid discomfort. Instead, you embrace life's flow, knowing you can navigate whatever comes. But this journey doesn't end here. Presence and trust set the stage for the next critical step, embracing your authentic power. To live fully aligned, you must own your voice, your boundaries, and your truth without apology. You must stand tall in your light, even when it challenges others or yourself. You must cultivate resilience that is unbreakable, rooted in self-awareness and acceptance. So ask yourself, where in your life are you out of alignment? What distractions or fears pull you away from presence? How can you deepen your trust in yourself and the universe? What steps will you take today to show up more fully and authentically? The answers will guide you into a life not dictated by external demands, but shaped by your inner wisdom and strength. You are more powerful than you realize. And living in alignment is your pathway to accessing that power every day. As you continue on this journey, prepare to explore how embracing your authentic power transforms your relationship with yourself and the world, igniting a force within that moves mountains. Surrender, the word often misunderstood, feared, or dismissed as weakness. Yet, true surrender is one of the most courageous and transformative acts you can choose. It's not about giving up or giving in to defeat. It's about releasing the exhausting need to control every outcome and stepping into a space of flow, peace, and empowered action. You've already felt the weight of resistance. You've begun to understand the power of presence and trust. Now it's time to put that wisdom into practice. Surrendering is not a one-time event. It's a daily, moment-by-moment choice. It's a skill that requires practice, patience, and intention. So how do you begin? How do you, right here and now, start the journey of surrender that will liberate your mind, your heart, and your life? Let's dive into practical, actionable steps that anyone, no matter your circumstances, can take today to begin surrendering and reclaiming your power. 1. Recognize what you can control and what you can't. The very first step to surrender is clarity. You must honestly assess where your control truly lies. We often carry the illusion that we can manage every detail of our lives, relationships, careers, emotions, the future itself. But in truth, control is limited. You can influence, but you cannot command. Ask yourself, what am I currently trying to force that is outside my control? Which worries or frustrations are rooted in resistance to things I cannot change? How much energy am I spending fighting reality instead of accepting it? Write it down if you need to. Awareness is the gateway to freedom. When you clearly see where your efforts are wasted, you can consciously release them. This doesn't mean surrendering your goals or values. It means surrendering attachment to how and when those goals unfold. This clarity sets the foundation for peace. 2. Practice radical acceptance. Radical acceptance is the fearless embrace of your current reality, no matter how uncomfortable or uncertain it feels. It's saying to yourself, "This is my truth right now. I accept it fully. I don't resist it, argue with it, or pretend it's different." Acceptance doesn't mean resignation or passivity. It's the opposite. It's the powerful acknowledgement of facts as they are, so you can respond with wisdom instead of reaction. Here's how to practice it. When you feel frustration, pause. Take a deep breath. Say internally, "I accept what is happening right now." Allow the emotions to be there without judgment. You might feel tension ease. Your mind may quiet. This moment of acceptance creates the space surrender needs to grow. 3. Cultivate mindful presence daily. Surrender thrives in presence. When you are fully present, you stop spinning stories about what should be or what must happen next. You meet life exactly as it is, with curiosity and openness. To cultivate presence, dedicate 5 to 10 minutes daily for mindful breathing or meditation. Focus on the sensations of your breath or the sounds around you. When thoughts arise, and they will, acknowledge them and gently bring your attention back to the now. Over time, this practice rewires your nervous system to let go of compulsive control and lean into flow. You become more attuned to the subtle nudges that guide you, instead of reacting to fear and resistance. 4. Let go of the need to know. One of the heaviest burdens we carry is the desperate need to know exactly how things will unfold. We want certainty. We want guarantees. We want to control the script. But life's magic happens in the unknown. Surrender invites you to release the pressure of having every answer in advance. Challenge yourself to say, "I don't need to have it all figured out." Allow yourself to move forward with trust, even when the path is dim. The paradox? The less you force the story, the more the right opportunities and answers reveal themselves. 5. Set intentions, not expectations. There's a profound difference between intentions and expectations. Expectations demand a specific outcome. They create pressure, disappointment, and resistance. Intentions are guiding stars, flexible and kind. They point you in a direction without chaining you to a rigid plan. Each morning, set an intention for your day. Today, I will remain open to possibilities. I intend to respond with calm to whatever arises. My focus is on progress, not perfection. When you approach life with intention instead of expectation, you invite surrender naturally. You stop battling reality and start partnering with it. 6. Create space for stillness and reflection. In our fast-paced world, stillness can feel like a luxury, but it's a necessity for surrender. Quiet moments allow you to listen deeply to yourself, your fears, your resistance, and to release them. Build pockets of stillness into your day. Take short breaks without screens or distractions. Sit outside, breathe deeply, and observe without judgment. Journal your thoughts and feelings honestly. This practice grounds you in your inner truth and softens the grip of control. It's in stillness that surrender shifts from concept to experience. 7. Practice compassionate self-talk. Surrender requires gentleness with yourself. When resistance arises, and it will, meet it with kindness, not harshness. Replace self-criticism with compassionate reminders. It's okay to feel uncertain. I am doing the best I can. Letting go is a process, not a failure. Your inner dialogue shapes your ability to surrender. Make your words a source of strength, not stress. 8. Embrace the power of small, intentional steps. Surrender isn't about stopping all effort. It's about choosing your actions wisely, from a place of calm and alignment. Break big challenges into small, manageable steps. Focus on what you can do today, right now. Celebrate progress, however tiny. This approach transforms overwhelm into empowerment and fuels your momentum. Remember, surrender is not inaction. It's intelligent action without attachment to outcome. 9. Trust in your resilience and inner wisdom. You have survived every moment in your life so far. You possess a deep well of resilience and wisdom. Surrender invites you to lean into this strength, not away from it. When fear tempts you to cling, remind yourself, "I am capable. I have what I need within me. I can face uncertainty with courage." This trust in yourself is the anchor that holds surrender steady. 10. Surround yourself with supportive energy. Surrendering can feel vulnerable. Find people, communities, or practices that uplift you and encourage growth. Share your journey with those who listen without judgment. Let go of toxic connections that fuel control and resistance. Remember, your environment either supports your surrender or sabotages it. Choose wisely who and what you allow into your space. Surrendering is the ultimate act of courage. It asks you to release the illusion of control, embrace uncertainty, and live with open hands and an open heart. It is the gateway to freedom, peace, and a life lived in true alignment. As you begin this journey, know that every moment you practice surrender, you create space for more flow, clarity, and joy. You no longer carry the weight of forcing life to bend to your will. Instead, you become a powerful co-creator, dancing with the rhythm of life itself. And this is just the beginning. Next, we'll explore how to embody surrender daily through rituals and mindset shifts that make this profound practice not only possible but natural, transforming your life from the inside out. Prepare to step fully into your power by learning to surrender with grace, intention, and unwavering strength. This journey of surrender isn't about giving up, it's about stepping into a deeper kind of power. A power born not from force or control, but from presence, trust, and alignment with life's natural flow. You've discovered that real strength doesn't come from pushing harder or gripping tighter. It comes from letting go, not because you're weak, but because you are wise enough to know that freedom, peace, and clarity reside in surrender. Now it's time to bring this wisdom into your everyday life. The choice to surrender is not a single moment. It's a daily, courageous commitment to live with open hands and an open heart. It's choosing to show up fully with intention and calm, regardless of what the external world throws your way. Remember this, you do not have to control every outcome. You don't have to force every door open. You don't have to carry every burden alone. When you release the illusion of control, you reclaim your energy that can be spent creating, loving, growing, and living with joy. Here's the truth. The life you want, the peace you seek, the freedom you crave, it's already within your reach. It's waiting for you on the other side of surrender. And every step you take toward letting go, every moment you practice presence over pressure, brings you closer to that life. But it doesn't stop there. Surrender also invites you to trust the timing of your journey. To understand that growth isn't a race or a checklist. It's a rhythm, a dance between effort and ease, between intention and release. When you learn to move in harmony with this rhythm, you unlock a flow of opportunities, clarity, and joy that no amount of struggle could ever create. This is your invitation. Start now. Start small. Today, ask yourself, what's one area where I can loosen my grip? What expectation can I release that's weighing me down? What resistance can I meet with kindness instead of fight? What moment can I fully embrace with presence instead of fear? The power lies in these choices. They're the building blocks of transformation. Not overnight miracles, but steady, undeniable shifts that shape a life of freedom and fulfillment. And as you step into this new way of living, remember, you're not alone. We are all walking this path of surrender together. So share this message with someone who needs it. Talk about what you're learning. Support each other in choosing flow over force. Because community and connection are powerful accelerators on this journey. If this message has moved you, if it has sparked a fire or softened a burden, don't keep it to yourself. Like, comment, share, let the ripple effect begin. Your engagement isn't just a click. It's a commitment to live consciously and to inspire others to do the same. Finally, keep coming back to this truth. Surrender is not weakness. It's your deepest strength revealed. It's the courage to trust what you cannot control. It's the wisdom to say, I am here, I am enough, and I am ready to live fully, exactly as life unfolds. So breathe it in, feel it in your bones, and step forward with confidence. The life you desire isn't waiting for you somewhere else. It's waiting for you right now, in this moment of surrender. Thank you for choosing to show up, to listen, and to grow. The journey continues, and it is more beautiful than you imagine. Stay strong. Stay present. And above all, keep surrendering, keep thriving.